Hey guys, welcome to Now or Never. Hey, so in today's episode, we're going to be talking all things Starlink. It's been quite a few years now since Starlink came out in Australia. It was really rare to see them when they first came out. Now every man and their dog has Starlink on their caravan or car setup. It's everywhere. So what I want to talk about is it really necessary these days? Do you need Starlink to travel the country? Let's get into it. So let's kick it off by going back to what we were using before Starlink. Now, Starlink was released in Australia in April 2021, but it was limited to the lower half of the country. There weren't enough satellites in the orbit, I guess you'd say, to accommodate for the northern regions of Australia. So Kimberley's, Northern Territory, North Queensland, you couldn't get a decent Starlink reception up there. So it wasn't really an option caravanners were looking at the time. The concept was there, but it just didn't have the infrastructure yet. So when we left on our travels, we were already doing YouTube and we were uploading a video a week. We had to have some kind of reception. So when we first left, we just used our phones. We hotspot the computer from our phones. It would take at times up to 24 hours to upload a video. And that is insane to think about now. Now, a lot of the camps around the country had zero reception. So we'll go for a little drive up here and it's a really good view. We've already been up here a couple of times.
Yeah.
Trying to get internet.
Yeah.
So this was an issue. I remember we used to go driving. We'd drive some insane amounts to go sit in a car park with 1 or 2 bars of 5G or even 4G sometimes and sit there for hours while a video uploaded. After that, we thought, look, we can't keep doing this all the time. So the next thing we looked at was options of what boosts your 5G. There were a few different products out there. You had your Selfie Go, your Telstra Nighthawk, and that's amongst others, but that's what we went for. We went for the Telstra Nighthawk. It was reasonably priced, and we bought a little external antenna, and we used to sit that on the top of the van. And I remember back, I think we were at Smithy's, one of my favourite camps, up at Dampier Peninsula up in the Kimberley region, and we had 1 bar of 4G. But nobody else had reception. And I thought it was the most amazing thing ever. But we still had times where we had to go drive somewhere to upload our weekly video. So when Starlink announced that they had enough satellites in orbit to cover the northern region of Australia, we started thinking about it. But it was super expensive at the time. So was it worth it? We weren't earning much money off YouTube. It was hard to justify spending from memory, $160 a month, plus the outlay of $1,000 for the initial setup. It was a hard call, but by the time we got, I think it was halfway down the WA coast, we bit the bullet. We said, we can't keep doing this. We're wasting so much time going and sitting places uploading videos and even missing out on uploads because it just wouldn't work. So we bit the bullet. We bought a Starlink. We got the Gen 2. What a game changer that was. We had internet no matter where we were. So if you remember the Gen 2 dish, it had a big base on it and it was a dish that aimed itself in all different directions until it picked up the satellites and you had some good internet. And it was really good. Now, the downfall of it was powered by 240 volts. So you had to have your inverter on. Not that it used a whole lot of power, but if you ran it all the time, overnight, we didn't have a very big battery system back then, it would just keep sucking the juice all the time. So it was great, but we had to keep turning it off and just picking when we used it. Now, obviously being such a big bulky setup on the ground, we only set it up really when we got to camp. We pulled it out every now and then in a bit of an emergency, but it wasn't the most ideal setup. So we ran that setup for a solid, I'm gonna say 1.5 years, and it was great. Then we had our mates Cowfish reach out to us. So we already had their Vantenna on our caravan for TV reception, and that thing was working great. So they then reached out to us and they said, hey, look, we've got a new product called the Van Connect. So this was also a 5G booster. it had an antenna on the roof, and any of your 5G signal, it boosted it, and it worked quite good for what it was. But it also had an option to do a 12-volt conversion for your Gen 2 Starlink. So we went ahead, we installed that in our last Caravan. We did the 12-volt conversion on our Gen 2 Starlink, which meant you had to cut the plug off, but it was a really neat setup. It had a weatherproof socket on the outside of the van. We then, instead of pulling out the whole router and setting that all up and plugging it into 240, now all we had to do was bang the dish on the ground, plug it into the side of the van, Starlink was running. No longer using our inverter, we were using less power, and everything was great. We were really happy. We used that for, I'm gonna say, another year. But I think the only downfall is you had a bulky dish. Two downfalls, I'm gonna say, actually. A bulky dish that you're setting up on the ground, and you couldn't use it while you were traveling, and unless you got one of those setups where you split your dish in half and you put it in a flat mount. It was beyond what I wanted to do. I wasn't going to tamper with my Starlink that much. So that then brings us to late last year, 2025. We had just sold our Caravan, Bertha, who, if you've been following along, we renovated and we added all of that Van Connect setup. We sold her. We had the new van from Essential, and I decided I was going to sell that dish with the van. It was just going to be part of the package because I'd already cut the cable and made it so it was plugged to go into the side of the van. We were then back to, what do we do? There was two options then. So you've got the Starlink Mini and the Starlink Gen 3. Now, the differences between the two, I don't know the exact details on data, uploads, downloads, all that stuff, how much better one or the other is with the satellites or whatnot. But the Gen 3 was a bigger setup and it had a separate router, whereas the Mini was the router and dish built into one. We ended up going for the Mini, and the turning point for us was traveling with Cam and Tiff from Wild Touring. They had their Mini mounted on the roof of their car, and it was just the most impressive thing. We were, you know, whenever we'd go driving between camps, we'd always make sure we download our maps before we'd leave, then we'd pack up our Starlink and hope that we didn't have to change anything on the way, because if we didn't have reception, it wasn't happening unless we pulled over and set everything back up again. With them, with their Mini, they had maps going all the time in the car. They're looking at satellite images of the camps that they're driving into. Just the sky's the limit. You've always got internet unless you're parked under, you know, a really covered area. So we thought, you beauty, that's the answer. We've got to do something like this. So I then reached back out to Cowfish. I said, hey, what have you got for the Starlink Mini? Because if you know the Starlink Mini, it is also 240 powered. It comes from factory with a 240 socket. They said, look, we've got a product that converts it to 12 volt. Let's send you out one. You buy the dish, you're on your way. You've got a 12 volt Starlink. Hey, now before we get into this, we're gonna be doing a giveaway towards the end of this video, and we're gonna be trying to raise some money for a very special cause. So make sure you stay tuned and we'll let you know how you can enter. So they then sent us out two of these. These are the Cowfish Cosmo Minis. These are simply a 12 volt adapter for the Starlink Mini. Super little compact unit, on-off switch, and they also sent us out three different power options, I guess you'd say. Anderson plug, with the plug on the end for the Cosmo. You got a hard wire, so you can wire it straight into your battery system, and then a SIGI plug, all with the same end, so it's very simple. You plug those into the unit, regardless which way you're going to power it. SIGI is what I'm using at the moment until we redo our battery system, and then I'm going to switch over to the hardwire kit and I'm going to have it nice and neat. Then you've just got your other plug here, which is where you plug in your Starlink itself. And that's literally all there is to it. Once you plug those two items in, you turn it on, your Starlink will be working. Happy days. Now, why did we go for two of these units? The main reason is we wanted to have options. So we wanted the Starlink Mini set up on the car, on the top of the roof, so that we don't have to worry about it. It can always be plugged in. We've got internet wherever we're going. Now, what are the downfalls of that? One, someone drives away with the car, no one at the van has internet. It's gone. It's not there anymore. And then the other thing is sometimes where you're parked, if you're not unhooking from the Caravan, you might be under some trees like we are here. Your Starlink will be underperforming because it will not have direct sight of those satellites. So the whole idea behind having two is we're going to set up one in the canopy and one in the Caravan itself. So we have two options. We can either have it on the car all the time, and then when we pull up a camp and say the car wants to leave or it's undercover, we then pull the dish off the top of the car, set it up on the ground somewhere out in the open. Now let's talk about how we've got this thing set up on the car. So it's very simple. I've got a little pass-through on the back of the canopy. That's where the cable goes through. I bought myself a shorter 1.5 meter cable because the one that comes with the Starlink Mini itself, extremely long. I then went and bought myself a magnetic base for the Starlink. Now, there are heaps of options out there. There's some really flash looking ones. There is so many options, but some of them are quite expensive. I'm quite the tight ass when it comes to things like this. So I literally bought the cheapest one I could find on the internet. It was under $200 and it's from Rode. It seems to be all right, but basically it's a metal base with 4 magnets on it, and they're adjustable so you can bring it in and out. I've set it up so it fits in between 2 of my ridges here on the top of the Ranger, and it's got a Perspex see-through cover on top. So that it's just meant to protect it really. But these magnets, oh, they hold well. Since putting this on, I've done probably 4,000 kilometers, does not budge. There is not an issue. When I was looking at these online, I tried to do a bit of research to see if anyone had an issue with them blowing off or them coming loose. I don't think it's even something that happens. Now, you do have to consider that if you have something like a 300 series Land Cruiser, you have an aluminium roof. So this will not magnetize to it. So lots of people run it on a roof rack, but we, being a little bit weight conscious, we don't have a roof rack on the top of our car. So this option is perfect. I've seen people also mount these on the bonnet of their car. And the best thing is that when we put the tinny on the roof, I can then grab this, move it up to the very front, so it's not getting covered by the tinny. Now, on the topic of having the tinny on the roof of the canopy and it affecting the reception from the Starlink, there is a big thing you need to know, and that is different caravans affect the Starlink Wi-Fi getting into the van. So you've got pretty much 3 different styles of caravans being built. You've got your timber frame, which is what we've got here in the Essential. You've got your composite vans, and then you've got your alley frame vans. Now, each and every van is going to be completely different. This is not an overall blanket rule, but generally the timber frame, the Wi-Fi signal reaches inside the van quite easily. The aluminium frame vans, not so much. And that's where if we had our tinny on the roof being aluminium, if that's semi in the way of the router, it can block the reception a little bit. So at times like that, that's when we want to pull that dish off and have it closer to the Caravan itself. Now that's also something to consider between the Starlink Mini and the Starlink Gen 3. Now the Gen 3 having the separate router unit itself, if you have that router unit set up in your aluminium canopy, that's going to struggle to get the Wi-Fi signal out more so than the Starlink Mini that has the router built into the dish itself. And that then brings us to the second Cosmo Mini that we have. We have it set up in this hatch here, which is where our battery system is on our Essential Caravan. Now I wanted it to be close to the battery system, so it was a shorter wiring setup for it. And what they also supplied us from Cowfish is the pass-through. Now this is a really neat setup for your caravans. All it took was me drilling a hole through the side of the van. Now I did hit up Jamie from Essential first. I said, hey mate, do you mind if I drill a hole in the side of your van? Because obviously we don't own this van. And he said, yeah, look, I've heard that you used to build caravans before, go for it. One thing you got to be careful of is that you don't have wiring behind it though, but I was able to have a look in there, did a little pilot hole. So I put a hole through, screwed that in with some silicone to make it weather tight, and that is a beautiful little setup to plug your cable straight into. Nice and easy. Literally when we get to camp, if we want to take it off the car, we get our longer cable out, we plug it into here, plug it into the dish, bang it on the ground, bang it on the top of the van, wherever you want, Starlink, you got it running. So even though we have the second Cosmo Mini in the Caravan, 99% of the time, it just stays on the car. It's such an amazing setup. We don't have to worry about it. We constantly leave it turned on, but that is one thing I have noticed is the draw from the battery system, even though minimal, because it is turned on 24 hours a day, you have to be more mindful of your battery. We have a 200 amp hour battery in our canopy currently. We will be upgrading our system very soon, but at the moment, even though we have 200 amp hours, which has been ample the whole time so far, this thing draws between 2 and 3 amps an hour. And it doesn't sound like much, and it's not much, but when it's running 24/7, if you don't have any way to replenish that battery, so we're sitting at camp for, you know, quite a few days and we're not driving the car, it's going to keep bringing it down, along with our fridge running and everything else we're going to run off the battery system. So one thing I am looking at is when we do the new setup in the canopy, I'm going to put a solar panel on. That's going to hopefully cover most of what the Starlink Mini is drawing. Yes, you do have the option of turning your Starlink off. You have the on-off switch on the top of your Cosmo, but realistically, we want ours running all the time. We don't want to come out to the canopy to turn it off just to save a bit of power. Now, this is the part of the video where I want to be really honest with you and let you know, and I've said it before, we work with Cowfish Technologies. So any one of you that buys one of these Cosmo Minis or anything from Cowfish Technologies for that matter, with our discount code, we make a little bit of money. So it's going to be very easy to sit there and say, oh, he's just saying that because he wants to make money off it. We've been using this for quite some time now, and I haven't really mentioned that we've had it because I wanted to make sure that it works well. We do that with every product that we use. We just want to be completely honest. If it doesn't work and it's not worth it, I'm not going to tell you guys to get it. It's just how we operate. But there is a discount code and it does help us out. Now, to go on the back of that, you do not need this unit. This is not a necessity to have Starlink Mini on your Caravan or car. You can just run it off 240 with the plug that comes with it from factory, as long as you have an inverter, that is. You can run it like that, absolutely no dramas. It will use more power and you will have to have your inverter turned on the whole time. But that's okay, that's an option. And in all honesty, there are other cheaper 12-watt options that you can use to power your Starlink Mini, but they're hardwired into your battery system, so it's not regulating the power to your Starlink. That's why I wanted to run something like this, so I know that I'm not going to damage my dish at all. But that's not to say they don't work. If that's the option you want to go for, 100% it works, you can go for it. And that brings us to the main question. Do you need Starlink while traveling in Australia? Nope, no one needs Starlink. We don't even need Starlink. We made things work before we had it, but it makes it so easy for us working on the road, whether it be doing our videos or managing our businesses that we have at home. It is just an absolute game changer for us. And look, you're gonna have those people that say that's not real camping. And I get that. Some people are real traditional with their style of camping. You don't want any of the flash stuff. You don't want the mod cons. That's cool. If that's how you camp, go for it. Love it. But I like having the mod cons. I like running all the stuff like my slushing machine, my smoker, my Starlink, all that stuff. Absolutely love it. So look, I wouldn't go without Starlink anymore. I think it is one of the best things we've ever added on our setup, and it really increased where we could travel to and still work at the same time. And to be honest, I think Starlink are doing a very good job with not making it too expensive. They're constantly doing deals on their dishes. They give, I think, everyone that buys a dish a referral code. So if you know anyone that has a Starlink setup, you can get their referral code, you can save some money, they make some money, and they've actually increased the data on their lower plan for the same amount of money. So it's gone from 50 gig to 100 for the same price, which is incredible. If you don't want to pay the $190 odd for the unlimited plan, you can have a lower data plan for a lower price. And look, who knows where Starlink's going to end up? This is only still very early days. I'm sure it's going to get better with the connection. You're going to have lightning fast internet wherever you go. The only thing I'm going to be interested to see is, are the plans going to stay good, or are they going to increase and just become a little bit too expensive? Let me know what you think in the comments. Is it going to be affordable, or is it going to blow out and just be absolutely ridiculous? At the start of this video, guys, I said we're going to be doing a giveaway, and we're going to do that whilst raising money for a very important cause. The Cowfish team have been personally affected by melanoma, and they reached out to me and said that they wanted to do something to raise money for the Melanoma Institute Australia. So the prize pool is worth over $1,000 and it consists of a $500 Cowfish voucher, which you can use on anything in their range. We're going to give away 2 of these awesome Sun's Adventure camping chairs. We've been using these ones for ages. We absolutely love them. These ones are full of farts. Yours will be fart free and brand new. And a family pass to Camp Frucua in May. So all you have to do to enter is scan the QR code that's on the screen right now. That'll take you to the My Cause page to raise money for the Melanoma Institute Australia. Once you've donated absolutely any amount that you like, comment done in the comments section below. We'll run this for 2 weeks, guys, and we'll draw the winner on the 15th of March. And we'll let you know that you've won by replying to your comment on the video. It'll only be from us, so do not reply to anyone else. So not only will you be in the running for an amazing prize pool, you'll be helping out an important cause at the same time. Anyway, guys, that's our Starlink setup on our car and caravan. Thank you so much to Cowfish Technologies for working with us on this one. If you want this setup or anything from the Cowfish range, head to the Cowfish Technologies website, use the discount code NOW OR NEVER, and save yourself some bucks on your next order.